Hi and welcome to this video on simple interest. This is part of our videos that are on financial mathematics. Okay, so for this one, you'll want to be able to solve problems involving simple interest, and you want to be able to understand simple interest concepts and calculate interest amounts and interest rates, principles, that kind of stuff. Those sort of words will come through in a sec. Okay, interest, a checkered past. So the idea of interest is if Billy Bob here wants to borrow some money, he looks in his pockets, got nothing, and he wants to be able to build a brick cube because he's just really into bricks, wants to build a big cube of them. He doesn't have enough money, so he asks the bank to lend him some money. So he's like, oh, it's going to be $100, mate. And so when the bank goes to lend him some of that money, they're not just going to say, okay, yeah, cool, here's $100, pay us back in a couple of years. What they actually do is that they you have to pay money to get that initial amount of money in the first place. So you've got to sort of pay for the use of the money as well as paying the money back. So that is the interest, is the so they're going to give him $100, but he will have to pay back eventually $100 plus the interest, okay, which is sort of a rent of using the money. Okay, now in the past, interest was really naughty because of the idea that people were usually getting money to pay for buildings that would be servicing the community anyway, or to set up a business that would be helping, like a blacksmith and that kind of thing. However, these days, interest is sort of just part of everything that's happening. Okay, so you might have heard a lot about interest rates and things on the news, and the global economy is sort of linked together, and so interest rates is sort of the an indicator of how happy the banks are to lend money. Okay, lower interest rates means that they're really happy they really want you to start borrowing money. High interest rates means that they are not wanting to give away money very easily because they want to rent it to you for a lot of money. Okay, right, let's go across. Right, so key ideas. So let's have a look at some of the terms here. Interest, which is the amount of simple interest which needs to be paid. Okay, so we're only looking at simple interest here, not touching compound interest at all. So that's something for later. Okay, principal is the initial amount of money which was loaned or borrowed. Okay, this amount, importantly for simple interest, does not change. So that's something really important for you to remember. Okay, so with compound interest, that sort of amount gets sort of added onto, etc. Whereas for simple, just stays the same amount. Okay, rate is the interest rate per unit time. So usually, let's just rewind for a second. This was that $100, for example, that Billy Bob borrowed. Okay, the interest rate, you might hear things like 12% per annum, ANNUM. So that's the same thing as per year. Okay, so that means that 12% of this original amount gets paid per year. All right. Time, the length of time which the money was loaned or borrowed for. Okay, and the total amount is the principal and the interest together. Okay, right, let's have a look at some examples. All right, so the formula for calculating simple interest is I equals PRT. So that's I, the interest, is the principal times the rate times time. So interest equals principal times the rate times the time over 100. And the reason why it's over 100 is because the rate is usually expressed as a percentage, and so you need to divide by 100 to make it its decimal equivalent. Okay, so first let's calculate the simple interest paid on a loan of $5,000 at 16.4% per annum interest over 4 years. Okay, so we've got our formula, I equals PRT over 100. Okay, so let's think about this. So the principal amount is going to be this thing here. So $5,000 Okay, the rate is 16.4% per annum, and the time, the amount of time this is loaned for, is over 4 years. Okay, and so that means we can keep with per annum because it's in this thing's in years. So let's just chuck those into our formula. So we've got 5,000 times 16.4 times 4 over 100. And if you chuck that in your calculator, you will find that that is $3,280. So to borrow $5,000 and pay it off at this interest rate over 4 years was going to cost you an extra amount of $3,280. Okay, that's on top of the $5,000 that already needs to get paid back. Okay, right, here's another one, a bit more complicated this time. Barbara borrows $2,400 to set up a business. She repays the debt after 5 years and 3 months, after paying 18.5% per annum in simple interest, payable quarterly. Okay, so a lot of stuff going on there. All right, so let's have a look. How much interest did she pay quarterly? Okay, so let's have a look at our different little variables. So the principal amount is our $2,400, because remember, it doesn't change in simple interest. Our interest rate is equal to 18.5% per annum. Okay, and then the time that she's doing it for is quarterly. Okay, so that means she's paying it every quarter of a year. Okay, so that would be 1/4. Okay, so it's important to do it that way because our interest rate is given to us in per annum, so per year. So if she's paying quarterly, we have to have the time as quarter years. Okay, so let's chuck this in. I equals P, oops. Start that again. Eraser doesn't really work in this one. I equals PRT over 100, which is 2,400 times 18.5 times a quarter over 100, which you'll find is equal to $111 per quarter. Okay, right. Now we'll think about what is the total amount of money which Barbara repaid. So let's think first, what is the number of quarterly periods which went by? Okay, so that would be, she's got 5 years and 3 months. So 3 months is a quarter of a year, so that equals 5 1/4 years, which is 21 quarter years, which gives us 21 quarters. Okay, so it's 21 sets of quarters in which Barbara is paying this back. Okay, so let's look at the total amount of interest she paid. So the total amount of interest she paid would be that the interest times the amount of times she had to pay it. So that was 111 per quarter multiplied by the 21 quarters, which leaves us with $2,331. Okay, now what's the total amount? So the total is equal to the principal plus the total amount of interest which she paid. So the principal amount was $2,400 plus the whole amount of interest, which is $2,331, which gives us $4,731. All up is what Barbara had to pay for borrowing that $2,400. Okay, so the sort of questions you're going to get with this sort of thing might take a little bit of digging to figure out exactly what you're going to have to work out. But basically, it's going to be applying that formula in different ways, making sure you've got all the units sort of lining up and that sort of stuff. Okay, so thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you at school. Bye.